Looks like a sunny day behind you.
It is a beautiful day back here. And we're starting to
Ah,
get a little bit of cooler weather, but it is still very humid compared to elsewhere. And it's a gorgeous sunny day.
oh, awesome. You mind telling me where you are at the moment?
I'm in Hong Kong.
Nice. Is that also City of Lights?
Yeah, you could say it. It's like any city, it never sleeps, especially now.
Okay.
Now I live in the city, so there's always something happening outside my window.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I miss Thailand too because I lived there for about a decade, and that was, much that's part of, of the world is kind of there's always something happening.
Yes, it's very dynamic and in
Right.
different ways too, because you have these pockets of really local vibe, right? Like I live around the corner from a local wet market. And
Mm-hmm.
those are really kind of dynamic places, people coming in to get their produce for dinner or whatever meal. And then, it closes for the evening. And then they get about to like cleaning. And so the streets will be wet and clean. And then they sort of become places where when it's not busy with the daytime shopping groceries, it's kind of
Yeah.
where people go to kind of avoid crowds and get somewhere faster.
Right.
So
Awesome. Can you speak their language?
I speak a little bit of Cantonese. I speak what I would say is survival Cantonese, so I can
Okay.
get on the bus, I can order a meal, I can talk a little bit about the
Awesome.
weather. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I should,
Yeah,
after living here for 20 years, I should speak more,
20
which is,
years?
yeah,
Oh
it's
my
kind of a
God.
goal of mine to like still
Wow.
learn the language.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. That's very cool. Okay, so let's start with the next one. So for
Right?
those watching from home who might not be familiar with you yet, tell me a bit about yourself and who you are and what you do and why they should be listening to this conversation of ours today.
Okay. So my name is Nurbaya Nolasco. I am a school teacher. That's kind of my day job. And I've been a school teacher for close to 30 years, probably, teaching high
Hmm.
school. And then, aside from that, what I do kind of and the way I have interacted with people and encountered people like you is that I ran a blog called I'm a Narbaya, and I
Okay.
I kind of shared things a little bit about my life over here, but kind of
Hmm.
then moving into things like fashion, which has always been a hobby of mine. And then I
Yeah.
started my Instagram. And when I started my Instagram, I got to connect with, and in a different way, as you do on Instagram, a community of people who were very like minded, focused on sustainable fashion, thinking about our kind of fashion footprint, if you will, how we kind of impact our planet with the choices that we make and the consumption of fashion. So
Right.
in that, I've kind of used my platform to share ways for people to or inspiration for people to think differently about their wardrobe and their
Hmm.
closet and to get more out of what they own, and kind of shift that mindset of consumption and really get people to think about how cool it is to restyle and refashion your things.
Wow, that's amazing. I love how you have turned your personal passion into something, that inspires others. So, what first drew you to vintage and secondhand fashion?
So I guess you could say it's part of the way I was raised. So
Mm.
I am the child of teachers myself.
Okay.
And so, I'm the oldest of three children. My parents are both teachers, and I grew up in Malaysia. And I grew up kind of shopping in markets there. So there are like
Mhm.
the wet markets for food, but there are also like clothing markets
Yeah.
where you get unbranded things, like I don't even know where all this stuff comes, but I wasn't actually
Hmm.
even aware of like secondhand fashion then. It was just more like shopping for things that I could afford. And then I
Okay.
stumbled into other stores that were kind of like those stores where they get like surplus clothing that brands can no longer sell. They cut the tags and things like that, and they mark them down and sell them for cheap. And they have lots of
Hmm.
those here, and so I kind of wandered into that. And then I'm half Australian, so when I would
Yeah.
go back to visit family, they have like op shops there, which are the same as thrift shops, opportunity shops, or charity shops.
Yeah.
And I love to go there because there were really cool things in there too, and everything was in my price range. I also, as a child of teachers, uh, I kind of grew up in hand-me-downs. So,
Hmm.
like the idea of wearing other people's things was never really a foreign concept for me.
Yeah.
And then when I got to university, I realized there were places that were doing resale, so I could actually bring things that I wasn't wearing anymore and
Yeah.
sell them and
Hmm.
get it or money
Oh,
to
wow.
either buy something, another clothing item, or
Uh-huh.
uh, go out and have grocery money, or spending money to hang out with my friends. And so it feels like it's always been a part of me, like the way I was raised. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it, and then it's just sort of how I've raised my children too, just to sort of see value in things that had a life before them and probably will have a life after they're finished using them.
Wow, that's such a beautiful foundation. It sounds like sustainability and creativity were part of your life long before they came a buzzword.
Yeah, you
Right?
could say that. Yeah, I mean, from a very kind of practical standpoint of sustainability of lifestyle, and
Uh-huh.
when you don't have all the means, you look for ways that you can sustain a lifestyle, but do so within your budget. So, I mean, it was kind of out of
Hmm.
necessity, and then it was later on into my journey that I realized that there was a very real kind of environmental reason to be
Yeah.
living and kind of consuming fashion the way I
Hmm.
did. Yeah.
Wow. I have a question too, but before that, let me tell you a fun fact. The last episode that I did for the season one, the very last one, she was a guest from Malaysia.
Oh,
And that was the first and the last guest I got from Malaysia. Now you're the next one. And the number one country I get the guest from is from US. And the second one is Australia. I don't know
yes.
why, but people in Australia are very serious about these things and they're actually doing the work, especially with the
Yes.
ocean cleanings and all that things, and it's just amazing. I found it.
Yes. Well, I lived for a very short time growing up in Australia, but then our connection with Australia is that it's where I'm from, but also, it
Yeah.
was in summer times or their winters. So
Hmm.
I can't say, that I know what it's like to be a child there, like full time. But
Uh-huh.
one thing I do remember is that very early on, Australians had to
Hmm.
kind of reckon with environmental crisis because, one,
Mm.
they're a giant island, right?
Yeah.
So the ocean, like, so the Great Barrier Reef is a big part, and kind of the devastation that climate change has had on the Great Barrier Reef. But
Right.
even before that, I
Hmm.
remember that there was a hole in the ozone above Australia, and they were very aware of that damage, and there were campaigns for how people needed to protect themselves from the harsh
Hmm.
UV rays of sun, and
Wow.
kind of a real reckoning with that, like
Uh-huh.
the 80s. And so they've, I think, always been very, very environmentally conscious. And so when I go there, I feel it.